We've lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on our giant screen with a few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, everybody? You are tuned in. It is another Monday night. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time on this beautiful Monday, the 9th. It's August 9th, is it not? Yeah, man. It's August 9th.
Is it the 9th? Is that what it is?
I think so. That's what the calendar says.
That's what it says.
And you're tuned into the Drive-In Speakerbox. It's the show that we talk about movies and stuff. If you've been joining us, this is like episode, I think we're in like almost 900. Episodes of the Drive-In Speakerbox. You know, I started numbering them. Everyone's like, what? How many episodes have you guys done? I was like, dude, I don't know. It's been like 15, 16 years. And I did the reverse math, and I went and looked at all my archives of recordings that I did back in radio. And I can't put those out there on the internet because they contain a lot of music that back when I was on radio, I had, permission to play music from films. But now that we're a podcast, I can't do that anymore. So I can't put those out there for you. But they are a lot of fun. But we found out that we're close to episode 900. But anyway, I'm your host, Bo, the boom operator.
And I'm Jake, the grip.
The grip. So that just, I need to talk about this for a minute because this weekend it had been brought to my attention that the grip here has been running around town by another moniker. And and this moniker is not the grip. I heard he goes by Slick Doggy.
Slick Doggy. Yeah, dude, that's been my nickname my whole life. You didn't know that?
No. And so this is news to me that apparently Jake is not the grip. He's been masquerading this whole time when the reality, his name was Slick Doggy.
Yeah, man. That's what everyone's known me as. It's either Cool Boy or
I'm like one of your
Slick
closest
Doggy.
homies. I have never known you as Slick Doggy. Where did this come from?
I don't know what to tell you.
You're leading a double life. I thought we were friends.
We are friends.
Apparently I'm not friends with Slick Doggy.
Well, that's just the name they gave me, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Who are these they? Who are these
people?
Okay, the people. I don't know the people out there. Vern over on Facebook. Chef Brooks. Do you guys know Slick Doggy?
I bet Vern knows Slick Doggy.
Sam, do you know Slick Vince? Do you know Slick Doggy? Everybody out
Vince.
there in the comments.
Vince said foreign man.
Slick Doggy. Shout outs to everybody that's already tuned into the chat. Vince says, see the cool first icon by my name now? I'm one of your first subs, so I get it. That's right. On Twitch, we are now affiliates. So
How about that?
You can
Thanks,
sub
man.
us. You can earn. I'm still making some emotes. Shout outs to J.I. over there on Facebook. Hey guys, just checking in. What's going on, dude?
Vern coming in with the real friendship though. Look at that Boso Rider.
Oh, well, Slick Doggy. He says
that's all Slick Doggy.
He says, is it Slick Doggy or Slick Donkey?
Whichever one, situational dependent.
Does one of them punch? I don't know.
Let's not make it too weird.
Let's not get it too weird. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. We've got some movies to talk to you about tonight. Tonight on the show, we're going to be reviewing the latest installment of Suicide Squad, as well as the Val film that we had been talking about Val Kilmer, produced and filmed by Mr. Kilmer himself. Although he did not direct it, he had other people directing it for him. But he is a cinematographer and the associate producer on this film. And we're going to be talking about those tonight with you. So, again, if you're just now joining us and you're listening to the podcast, feel free next week to tune in to the live show. It's a lot of fun. We don't edit this thing. We're professionals. We've been doing this a long time. There's no quick cuts. There's none of this stuff. It's just straight off the dome entertainment. And you can find it every Monday night on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. So, did you see Suicide Squad? Or was it just me? You did?
No, I watched it.
HBO Max it?
I did.
God dang it. You're part of the problem.
I know. I knew that when I was doing it, but then after I watched it, I was like,
Man, all right. Well, here's the deal. Everybody's been in the news talking about the box office take of Suicide Squad, and everybody's like, it's a little low, don't you think? But it also came out side by side with HBO Max, which
they had announced that they would be doing with all of their major releases this calendar year. Mm-hmm. So there's still more. There's still more to come.
But this is one of the biggest ones that you've clearly seen an effect. A lot of people go, it's probably just because it's not that good of a movie. No, if we know anything about American audiences, they're going to rush out to see something that was hyped as this at the theater if they didn't have another option. I mean, Black Widow, I think, was a little bit different because wasn't it a premium Disney Plus? Like, you had to have Disney Plus and then also pay a stupid amount of money to watch.
$20 or $30.
Which is dumb. Nobody's going to pay $20 or $30 to watch it. I mean, people did. But when HBO Max is just offering it for free, why not?
No additional cost outside of the $10 a month that you pay, $14, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I don't think the Black Widow equation, they're like, well, Black Widow came at the same time. It's like, no, it didn't come out for free. And as Tyler said, he HBO Maxed it and felt real guilty about it, as you should.
And when I did it, I knew that I would suffer this judgment, but not to get too much into a review ahead of time. But I felt like I wasn't missing out on much.
Well, we'll talk about that later because I disagree.
Well, I got surround sound and a nice TV.
I will tell you about why
we'll get into
later in the program because we haven't discussed the film. We don't. We wait. We don't discuss them in advance. We were actually about to start talking about Val. We go, let's just save it for the people. And anyway, so yeah, It's really interesting to see because AMC did just strike a deal with Warner Brothers, which Warner Brothers did produce Suicide Squad, and they did a deal that said their 2022 slate will be released exclusively in theaters at least 45 days before appearing on HBO Max at home.
And that's similar to the deals that they've been signing up with all the other movie studios and stuff like that too, being that it's going to be 45, 90 days, whatever their exclusivity window is prior to moving to streaming services, even first-party streaming services. So.
Well, and I think that, this is a little of that. These deals are going to start getting struck because you saw what we talked about last week with the Scarlett Johansson case is, there are problems with going streaming directly. Everybody's like, well, it's so convenient for me. I'm going to have to wait a whole gosh darn month for this movie that I've been waiting for 2 whole years. Golly! And it's like, well, no, you could go see it at the theater. But what if I want to put on my shoes and COVID? And I'm like, motherfucker, you ain't scared of COVID. I seen you at the store.
But all of this was set up at a time when the theaters weren't open. There was no foreseeable opening. Yeah, and what was it? Trolls 2 just ran away with their at-home release. And, yeah. They were well, hot damn, you can stream at home and make all the money you would make at the theater with no distribution cost?
Well, it's a thing that I'm gonna throw Sam under the bus here for a minute because he just has a baby and is like doing what most parents do. They go, but my baby, and it's the default excuse for everything. It's the baby. There's sitters, there's grannies, there's your wife, there's whatever. You can still. I mean, for the dawn of most of civilization that had movie theaters, we still had babies. I got brought to the theater as a baby. And that's why I'm this. Is because theaters affected me. Convenience is ruining everything.
Take your child to the theater. They can end up
just like us. But the convenience aspect of it is we're coming so freaking dependent on like, well, I want it and I want it now. Gosh darn it, I ain't going away from nothing for nobody no how. And I'm not getting a vaccine. I'm not wearing a mask. And you can go to hell. And like it's tearing us apart, Lisa. And it's just bad news. Like sometimes we need to wait. Let's make it exclusive. Exclusive is cool. Waiting in line is cool. Dude, waiting in line makes things better.
No.
Yes, it does.
I hate lines.
That's what everybody says. And it's like, just like a cool party or a big event, a line builds up that excitement, that anticipation. Trust, if you were going to see Kiss and there was no line, you'd be like, what's going on?
No, I'm in first.
No, you're
I don't
wrong.
have to deal with them.
I'm telling you, it's human psychology.
Anytime I've ever had to wait in a line, I've hated it. Remember when I waited in line for Elvira and you guys kept coming by and y'all were having a good time and fun and friendship, and I was just sitting there
But
with
you chose to wait in line.
Sweaty nerds.
You were okay with waiting in line.
No, I wasn't.
But you did it. I didn't. I would have been like, whatever.
I had that like premium pass and everything, and I still got stuck behind like 200 sweaty nerds.
And you were okay with it. You did it.
No,
you did it. You made that decision. And
yeah, because I'd already paid money.
And that whole time you're like,
already paid money.
You're like, oh my gosh. And meeting, you talked about meeting Cassandra Peterson way more than Flash Gordon, which you met in the same, and he was just like, hey, can you please take a picture with me? That was Flash. And you're like, all right, cool. And you got your picture with Flash.
Yeah.
But then waiting in that anticipation, like, oh my gosh, it's Cassandra Peterson. People give a shit. I'm special.
Big facts.
True.
Sam Jones was way cooler than Cassandra Peterson.
No, you're just saying
IRL.
that now. You're just saying that
remember I tried
now.
to talk to her and she didn't want to talk at all.
No, she made jokes about your hair.
She
Dude,
hated everything.
No.
Sam Jones was a
slick
cool
doggy
boy.
is trying to pull a slick one on you because I was there.
You were there.
He was all like, dude, we made jokes. She talked about my hair. And Flash Gordon was like, I got to take my vitamins. Get away from me.
You're confusing that time
No,
when I met
was there.
Marina Sirtis.
I
Marina
have
Sirtis
pictures.
Was exactly like that.
I've got the photos
We have pictures.
to prove it. Anyway, I'm saying
lines are terrible.
I think this exclusivity thing is good. I think that people need to wait to see these movies. I think that showing them, it's turning them into content. It's turning them into this thing that we just, I'm bored, what am I going to do? Watch this, whatever. And it takes a little bit of that magic out of the movies. And we're going to be seeing more of it. I think it was Vern over in the comments talking about how The Rock maybe filing an additional lawsuit similar over Jungle Cruise. I don't have the news on that one yet, but it would not surprise me.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything about anything like that, Rock or Emily Blunt or anyone in that movie. But that'd be interesting to look up for sure.
Oh, man. In the comments, apparently, Vern was talking about you waiting in line for pickles, and then everybody's remembering his pickles, the Gunder pickles. They were
Gunder
something
pickles
else.
are good.
J.I. remembering when he stopped making the Gunder pickles.
I helped make them one time.
Well, one of our viewers there on the Facebook, a legendary pickle maker. He's a pickle man.
I feel like in that whole exchange, we were like Rain Man. You were Tom Cruise, and I was Raymond, and you're like, this thing. And I'm like, no. And you're like, yeah. And went back and forth.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I definitely was not friends with Cassandra Peterson. Definitely not. But anyway, AMC making a deal with Warner Brothers, which is really interesting because this year it's happening and we're seeing some problems because of it, and problems that I thought were going to happen. All, you've heard me talk about how people negotiate deals with Hollywood. Hollywood is shady, man. Hollywood is full of crooks and weirdos and Me Tooers and like all this kind of stuff. Like it is. Have you ever seen that show Get Shorty? I think it was a MGM. I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was based off of the book that I think was also turned into a movie with Gene Hackman and John Travolta and Rene Russo and also Danny DeVito, I believe, was in that movie. Yeah. Really good movie. It's about the like kind of mob getting involved in the movie business and kind of getting addicted to making movies. But going back to a conversation that we talked about a couple of months ago, one of our viewers was just like, "Oh, name movies about making movies." Well, this Get Shorty show is all about producing films, and it's on Amazon Prime right now. But Hollywood's crooked, dude, and if they're going to be able to screw people over, I mean, I've been personally screwed over by producers trying to like weasel my rates down on a film. And they go, well, sorry, your hands are tied, because they're tied like counting the money behind their backs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, our hands are tied. Dude, you're the producer. What do you mean?
Well, there's nothing we can do. Budgets. All the money's been going to me. So I'm glad that some of these actors are fighting back, and I've heard people go, well, who cares? They made so much money off that, and it's like, well, it's the principle of the deal.
Well, and like in Scarlett Johansson's case or whatever, all of her lawyers were saying they went against the contract, and that's something that if they allow them to break the contract and find ways out of it, then they'll continue to do that, and that's why you have a Screen Actors Guild and things like this, and it'll become a lot more messy.
Very messy. You don't want to get SAG involved. You don't want to get the unions involved. You don't want to get the Teamsters involved. You get the Teamsters involved, and you're in a lot of trouble, dudes. Sam says, how many casting couches have you cried on? I don't know. I've never been on a casting couch. and it's especially not in the sense that I think Sam is referring to. But anyway,
this is a wholesome show.
Vince says, "Hey, Facebook users, there was a data breach on Facebook. Change those passwords." This is true. There's been a lot of data breaches lately on the old internet. My Chrome has been going, "Hey, compromised. I had to change my Microsoft password." It was a lot.
That's true. Yeah, I've gotten friend requests from people 2 or 3 times over. I'm like, "Hey, did you send a thing? Because this seems fake." And they're like, "Oh no, I didn't do that."
No, dude, change your AMC Stubs password. You don't
My
want to get
Facebook's never been hacked.
Good.
I'm not popular enough.
Yeah. It's a proud moment. Anyway, also in the news, Muppets Haunted Mansion getting their first look, which was kind of cool. You know, Muppets and Halloween. I'm into it. It's what do you give me that look for?
Yeah, I mean, is it Disney Haunted Mansion since Disney owns Muppets, or is it like their own thing?
Well, Disney owns Muppets. It's a little bit of a crossover. I mean, the trailer wasn't super detailed and in depth, but we do know that there's going to be Muppets, and you know, someone's challenging Gonzo to spend Halloween night in the Haunted Mansion, and you know, I'm sure it's just going to be silly, you know. But I'm here for it, man. Muppets and Halloween. I'm down. I'm down.
I mean, hey, talking about Muppets, right now, coming up soon, either it might be this week, if not sooner, coming up within the next day or two, is Muppets Fathom event. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right, yeah. Man. And also Fathom events, another reason to get out in those theaters, guys. You know, I hear a lot of people when, you know, people love their excuses for not going to the theater. They're like, well, you know, just not safe, COVID, you know. And I'm like seeing these people at Applebee's, like butt to butt in a booth. I'm seeing them at Walmart with no masks on. I'm seeing at the bar. I'm seeing people not give any craps about COVID, doing the other things they want to do. But everybody, I don't know why movie theaters are always getting the bad rap.
Well, I'll tell you, did you see in the news here on Saturday, a man walked into a movie theater in Columbus, Ohio, started shouting at everyone in the theater watching Suicide Squad near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
He started yelling, "I am the king," and then just yelling cuss words at people. And then he ran up the steps to the top of the theater and took off a bag he was wearing and started reaching into it. And everyone bolted out of this theater.
Yeah, I see that all the time on like Dixon Street. I've seen, you know, that's not seeing crazy people. Have you ever been to a city?
Yeah.
He just managed to get him. But everybody's scared about that because we live in a country where it's not uncommon for people to have weapons on them at all time. And everybody remembers that Batman incident where the dude rolled up and just shot up a theater.
And just
that could happen anywhere.
Just
literally
week,
anywhere.
That
in fact, it does.
The TikToker and that one girl were killed during the purge. But
insane.
This man was quickly tackled by security because it was inside of a mall that had mall security, and they took him in, and he is being charged with felonies and
terroristic threatening, probably
inducing panic.
Yeah.
But you know what? Talking about people that are suing people, before we get too far away from that, it is official that Bam Margera is suing everyone involved in Jackass. He's like suing Johnny Knoxville.
Come on.
Yeah.
How about you stop doing drugs?
Well, and that's the whole thing. He said he's suing them for unlawful termination and all of this stuff, breach of contract, and his contract is like
breached his
stated
contract
exclusively like, hey, you
Don't
can't
do
do drugs while you're doing this movie. You have to stay clean. And then they like let him get away with it 2 or 3 times despite the contract before they kicked him off the movie. There's interviews with every cast member of the movie being like, yeah, we had to get rid of Bam because he was screwing up. So
I mean, I like Bam. I really enjoyed his show when it was on MTV. I mean, I grew up loving Jackass. I can't wait for this new movie. But I'm on the side of everybody else because he needs to get off the shit. You know what, like substance abuse like has done to some of those guys, like Ryan Dunn, was killed in a car accident because he was, hopped up on goofballs and liquors and driving his Ferrari or whatever it was. But like guys like Steve-O quickly learned that kind of behavior can end in badness, and they were trying to help Bam. And Bam doesn't want to get help, so instead he's just gonna, good luck, Bam.
Yeah, good luck with that. Vince said that he got a friend request from Slick Doggy with a 0. Yeah, not me, man. You'll know if it's Slick Doggy trying to be friends with you. Hey, you want to see something else that's kind of wild about people and how they treat the other people near them? It was recently stated in a podcast, the Moment podcast, not the Driving Speakerbox, which is a great podcast to listen to. Tell your friends about it. That Quentin Tarantino does not share any of his directorial fortune or anything like that with his mom because she told him when he was a kid that he would not amount to anything doing this writing thing. And when he was 12 years old specifically, he remembers an incident where he was chastised by his teachers, told to knock it off with the writing thing. It just wasn't going to work. He can't be a screenwriter or anything like that. It's just, it was a nonsense, and they did not want him doing it, and his mom agreed with him, and he said, you know what? You'll never get anything from me when I make something of myself from this. And here's Tarantino being like one of the biggest names in movies, and he's like, nah, I can't have none of it.
Sorry, dog.
How about that?
I mean, sticking to your guns.
Encourage your children's dreams.
That's right. That's right.
They might make you rich one day.
One of these days. Speaking of getting rich, have you heard about Matt Stone and Trey Parker getting this absurd amount of money to basically renew South Park into 2027 and also signed on for 14 South Park movies in that period of time?
Yes.
That is absolutely insane.
South Park is so good. And ever since they made Randy the main character, it's become so good, and I'm here for that.
That's a lot of South Park, my man.
I did see
14 feature-length films.
I saw and forgot to mention on a previous
it's already been what,
podcast.
30 seasons?
It's up there. I forgot to mention either last week or the week before that the Save Casa Bonita group is trying to get them to
Casa
buy it.
Bonita.
So they want Trey
hilarious.
Parker and Matt Stone to buy Casa Bonita.
That's pretty hilarious.
Why
wouldn't they?
There's a group to save it, and they've approached Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and they are spreading rumors saying, "Oh yeah, these guys are going to buy it. They're going to buy Casa Bonita because of that episode of South Park."
How many locations of Casa Bonita are there still around? I remember we used to have one here in Tulsa. But let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
I hope it's still there. I never got to go. It's right up there. Scroll up.
Oh, where?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh,
4? Only 4
Rock.
left?
Look at that.
There's a Casa Bonita still in Little Rock.
Oklahoma City.
No, the Tulsa one's gone, man.
Well, that's a bummer. I never got to go.
Oh man.
Anyhow, so yeah, this group is trying to get them to buy it, and I don't think they're wanting to. But maybe if they have big time ridiculous Comedy Central money, who knows?
I need to. Yeah, there was other locations, but wow, I had no idea that was such a small thing. And you had the little flag, and you could go up and get more enchiladas, and there was a treasure box at the end. Like Casa Bonita was really cool.
They just brought back the cliff divers apparently.
Logan says, "Viva la Casa Bonita." Logan Van Winkle knows a good enchilada endless flag when she sees one.
Vince said he saw the thing about the movies and thought they must mean episodes. They
mean episodes and movies.
It could be movie-length episodes like they just did with the...
I don't think it's going to be in theaters. It'll probably be like Netflix or ComedyCentral.com exclusives or whatever streaming.
I doubt it'll be any kind of exclusive in any
Central
way.
Plus.
No, they did the QAnon special. Like
why don't they just have their own South Park streaming service? Why don't they just do that?
They did. And they had SouthParkStudios.net, and then Comedy Central. Yeah, Comedy Central made them shut it down. It was South Park Studios' website. And they had every episode up there for free, and Comedy Central got upset because then people were going there and watching it for free and not going to Comedy Central. So now Comedy Central offers some limited episodes for free because Trey Parker and Matt Stone want people to be able to watch South Park. But they did the South Park the QAnon special. It was a longer episode, like an hour-long episode kind of a thing. So they might do that, which that is available on HBO, Comedy Central, whatever, so it's not like any kind of web exclusive. I doubt they would ever do anything like that. That seems like a good way to make it where no one would watch it. Mm-hmm. But they might do that where it's feature-length episode kind of a thing.
Makes sense to me. Well,
we'll
interesting.
See.
We will see. We will see. What else in the news that's worth talking about? I think we actually kind of exhausted our time for the news segment for the show. So we should probably move on and talk about movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend, because there are a couple coming out in theaters. There's a lot being released, but only a few in nationwide. 2 that are getting a nationwide release. The biggest one, of course, if you've been into a theater at any point in the past calendar year, you've seen way too many trailers for the new,
or watched a YouTube video,
or a
Facebook video.
They might be targeted to you. You never know what you're seeing on social media if everyone's seeing it, because it's such a crafted like horse blinders.
I have all my permissions turned off,
because I know my feed, it's all like jack-o'-lanterns and weird crap and skull lamps, and they know me, and movie memorabilia, but I'm pretty sure that your ads don't look like. That's why I hate the internet right now.
I have my permissions turned off, so I get all sorts of stuff. I get movies, I get sports, which, I mean, if it was targeted to me, there wouldn't be
Wish.com
sports.
insanity.
Yeah, back when Facebook would have Wish.com on it all the time, it was all over the place.
Yeah, dude.
Because I had permissions turned off, so it didn't know how to target me.
Yeah, like
so
butt plugs that also transform into race cars and
Yeah.
like robots. You're like, who made
and
this?
Like, whatever those things you shove in your nose was that it showed all the time, and there was like
There were also butt plugs. I don't know.
Well, there were like
insane stuff.
There
on
were
Wish.com.
super cool models, like Kotobukiya models that would normally be like $300 and like $5.
$5,
and, I'm
and
like,
it
there's
also
no
turns
way.
into a butt plug.
Yeah. Wow, dude. What is your Wish.com?
It
Is
was
what I'm.
Weird, man. My Wish.com thing was super. It was.
See, but you
always
don't have your
insane.
permissions turned off, so targeted.
Yeah, it was. Well, whatever. But anyway, Free Guy is coming out in theaters this weekend from director Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, Jodie Comer, Taika Waititi, and more inside this video game world where Ryan Reynolds is a bank teller that discovers he is actually an NPC inside of a video game, and it's an open world video game, and he becomes like the central lead where he has to save the days, and I don't know, Wreck-It Ralph. He becomes Wreck-It Ralph, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like Wreck-It Ralph or Pixels or what was that movie with Ready Player One? Like it looks like a combination of all of these kinds of ridiculous things. I don't know.
I mean,
I'll probably end up watching it
Ryan
for
Reynolds
you guys.
has kind of been playing himself in every role since probably
Van Wilder.
Well, I was going to say Waiting, which I think came out before when
Nope.
was Van Wilder first.
Yeah,
and
Van
then,
Wilder's how he got famous.
and then Waiting, I guess. But yeah, he's just been playing the same snarky sort of, handsome butthole this whole time, and now Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. It's not Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, but to be fair, back when Wizard Magazine existed,
They were congruent.
that was like the fan cast. It was always we should have Patrick Stewart as Professor X and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. There's no other
Because they're
options.
basically the same people.
Yeah, it was like everyone would. It would always be like a 98% of readers voted this because there aren't other options for those two characters.
Because he's the same guy.
Yeah.
But Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds in a Ryan Reynolds. So it's going to be a Reynolds rap at the end of that one. Hey, sorry. Those dad jokes just sometimes come out. I'm not even a dad. Reynolds rap? Come on, that was a good one. It was a film joke. Don't shake your head at me.
I can't stand dad jokes.
Anyway, also coming out in theaters this weekend for the horror fans, a sequel to the film Don't Breathe from director Rodo Sayagues. It's got Stephen Lang, of course, and the rest of the people that get murdered. But it kind of makes the main character into a sort of, I don't know, from the trailer, a good guy. It's set in the years following the initial home invasion where the Norman Nordstrom, who's played by Stephen Lang, of course, he lives in solace until his past sins catch up with him, which I don't know what that means. And by the trailer, it doesn't look like they catch up with him.
I think you know what it means. You reviewed the movie on the show.
Oh, well.
The first one.
Are you talking about those sins? I thought there were maybe pastor sins than that.
Well, who knows what he was up to before that movie, because everyone's like, let's break in this house. Yeah, dude, yeah. And then he's like, you coming into my house? Or how do you mime a turkey baster? Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird movie, and this one, it's like he's protecting a little girl, and he's somehow the good guy, and it's kind of Lone Wolf and Cubby, or maybe Blind Swordsman Zatoichi horror edition.
Well, in the first movie, he was kind of the good guy, right? He was a guy defending his home with extreme prejudice, right?
But then there's some weird shit going on in his home. But this one, there's a little girl involved that he's trying to protect, and I don't know. The trailer's all like, never see it coming, and I'm like, well, okay, because is that a blind joke, or is there a twist in here? Because in the trailer it shows him murdering everyone, and it's like, well, there's only 4 people that walk up to the house, and I just saw 4 murders, so do I even need to see the movie? Like, what the hell? Trailers these days, right? So anyway,
Vince looks up pastor sins.
Oh! I don't know about those sins. Sam over on Facebook says, I'd rather watch People Under the Stairs again. That's kind of a fun movie. Kind of a weird movie. I remember when I first watched it as a kid, I couldn't stand it, but as an adult, I was like, it's not too bad. Sam also says, Don't Breathe 2, Return of the Turkey Baster. Yeah, it's I don't know if he's going to baste anybody in this one, but it's coming, and it'll make money because it's a horror movie, and people like it's low investment, high ROI. There's always one that comes out, but it's coming out this weekend.
Plus, ever since Avatar, everyone's been real into Stephen Lang. Anytime you put him in a movie, they're like, yeah, that guy's cool.
That guy, and he's super creepy in this in these movies. At least he was in the other one. So. Logan Van Wiegel said she had a weird crush on Roach. All right, do you want to talk about it? All right, well, that's what's coming out in theaters. A lot of other limited release movies that are probably not going to see at theater near you. We got the Respect film, which I do hope that does come out in a wider release. But that is the life story of Aretha Franklin. The trailers are looking really good. It's from director what's her name, Liesl Tommy, and it's got Jennifer Hudson, Forrest Whitaker. Got a really great cast there about Miss RESPECT herself. Looks pretty cool from the trailers. I hope that it gets a wider release, but it's got a lot of stuff up against it right now. I mean, it's got we got Jungle Cruise out there still. We got Space Jam out there, which is going to at least be another week and a half. Suicide Squad's going to be out there. But the problem is what we saw with Green Knight. People wanted to go see Green Knight, and in the theaters that I was looking at, because I kind of just look at all the different show times because you can now see what tickets are sold, and kind of see how full it is. It's kind of a weird, fun way to see who's seeing what, but those were always sold out, and they were in the smaller theater. It's like, man, put it in a bigger theater. And I went and saw Suicide Squad today, and I was like maybe one of 8 people in the theater when I saw it this afternoon. I mean, I guess it is a Monday matinee. Not a lot of people probably going to the theaters. But what I'm saying is the theaters are saving room and most of their screens for these big budget movies. So I guarantee you, Free Guy and Don't Breathe are going to be taking up a lot of screens.
Sure. Well, I saw and shared a great meme about this Space Jam nonsense where it had Harry Potter yelling at LeBron James, "How dare you stand where he stood?" I'm like, yeah, exactly. Why is that movie still around? It has to be out of theaters pretty quick.
Yeah, well,
I think you can make room for Aretha Franklin instead of
I think that Space Jam is still in 2,800 theaters nationwide.
And that one's available. You can watch it streaming.
You can watch it streaming.
Why not do that?
I don't know. I need to go do my homework and find out how many theaters are still reporting to the box office. The number one movie in America, which was Suicide Squad, by the way, which we'll talk about box office stuff later at the end of the show like we always do. But it was only playing in 4,000 theaters nationwide. And I do know that before the pandemic, there was almost 5,000 theaters nationwide.
Like so 48 somewhat.
48,992 or something. It was up there, almost 5,000. And so I don't know if that many have just closed because of, the pandemic, or if they're just temporarily, I don't know. I need to find out. So that'll be my homework for next week or the week after, or whenever I actually end up remembering it, which is probably never. So anyway, that's what's coming out in theaters this weekend. So you can check those movies out. All right. You want to talk about Val?
Sure.
You want to move into that? The life and times of Mr. Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a movie that we'd been talking about coming out. It was, again, self-produced film about his own life, kind of a self-documentary. Of course, people, he disappeared for a while. Not everybody knows, but I think it's starting to become commonplace that he got throat cancer. It was really secret there for a while, and I can't remember what movie he was originally supposed to be in. I think it was The Snowman, was like around between 2016, 2017, and he had to it's when he was losing his voice, and then started, he had to have the surgery and the chemo and all that kind of stuff. So he started looking really bad, and he disappeared for a while, but was still doing things here and there. He came in a cameo appearance from the 2019 Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah, he was
as
Blunt Man.
Blunt Man.
Where he didn't have to talk.
Which was perfect.
And that was like the one part of that movie that I liked, because I was like, oh snap.
It's Val.
Val Kilmer, and they made him Blunt Man, so he's Batman. He's Blunt Man. He doesn't have to talk. It's perfect.
So, it was pretty interesting. So this movie, again, a couple of things that I really enjoyed about this movie is, Val Kilmer, when he was hitting his fame in the late 80s and early 90s, after coming off of Top Gun, and then it was the world was his oyster, so to speak. You've got Tombstone, which was just, of course, incredible. And then, he gets offered the role of Batman. What I didn't realize is he turned the sequels down. He's like, I don't want to do this. And they're throwing money at him. And he was just
because he talked about it was just such a miserable
he was
experience.
I didn't get to act. He's like Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey got to like have these performances, and I was just like being told where to stand because I could barely move in this outfit. And one of the things you really learn about Val Kilmer in this film is what a thespian he really is. He like loves acting, he loves performing and stage and theater, and he was trained at Juilliard, and he loves writing.
He said the youngest student to ever be admitted to Juilliard.
Yeah. Absolute youngest guy. Hey, over on Twitch, Vince says, Twitch announcement to celebrate the new addition of subs to our channel. He's going to give away a prize to the next person who talks in the Twitch chat. Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Snap.
Hey,
thanks, Vince.
But anyway, Val Kilmer, I didn't realize how classically trained he was and how far back it went. And also, what a goober he is.
Dude, the best part of this documentary is just to see what a screwball he is.
Because he always looks
IRL.
like such a hard-nosed, like, hard-ass on screen. But then you remember movies like Real Genius and Top Secret, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, him in real life is very similar to Real Genius kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So you see a lot of these behind-the-scenes thing. And what was really funny is watching the behind-the-scenes, you get to see Island of Dr. Moreau and what a shit show that production was.
Oh, yeah, and just how terrible it was because he was like, so stoked to get to work with one of his heroes,
which was Marlon Brando.
And him and Brando got along great.
Yeah, but
offset, and then every time filming, whatever director they had
was
just
being an ass.
Awful. Yeah.
And you got to hear some really interesting things where he confronted the director. He's like, "Are you going to let me act, or are you just going to be an asshole about all this?" He's like, "I'm trying to do a thing." So it was really interesting to see this guy who was so passionate about his craft, but was getting pigeonholed into a world of this sort of blockbuster stardom that he didn't really ask for. He kind of was happy doing interesting roles and theatrical, like I don't know the word that I'm trying to find for these roles, not Batman's. And then, he's working on this thing that's such a dream for him, playing Mark Twain in this one-man stage show that he wants to eventually turn into a film. And then he gets throat cancer, and he's having to have this new outlook on life and trying to, reassess what he's doing. But, it's weird, and it's kind of pulls at the heartstrings, and it's difficult to watch a little bit. But it's also fascinating, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts that are hard, and it's a bummer, but then there's parts that are really fun and entertaining. Like, he's still a goofball, even though he's, like...
having a push to talk.
Yeah, like, he has to breathe through a tube, and he has a hard time, and he's still a goof. And he hams it up for the camera and still has fun, which is cool to see. And I liked seeing things where, like, for Top Gun, He didn't want to do Top Gun. He was contractually obligated by the studio for other films they had signed on for. He hated the idea of Top Gun, didn't want to be there. And they're like, oh, you're going to be Iceman. He has like 2 lines in the movie, and he's going to suck. And he's like, no. And
I'm going to make this character.
Yeah, and so then in his head, he made Iceman somebody, and then on screen, Iceman's the coolest one. No pun intended there, but he's the coolest dude. And it's like, oh, who's the guy that everyone likes in Top Gun? It's not Maverick.
No.
Everyone likes Iceman.
Everyone likes Iceman because it's Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what this film does. And you see what an eye for the world that this guy has that not a lot of people really know much about. I mean, you know, I've always been a fan of Val Kilmer. I thought The Saint, I loved The Saint. They mention it briefly in the film. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is such a great Shane Black film. If you've never seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, like amazing writing and amazing chemistry between Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer in that movie. He plays Gay Perry, who's a detective. It's a great film. But you just learn a lot about this guy. And, you know, I went back and revisited Batman he was in, and he's not a bad Batman. I just kind of discredit. He's not a bad Batman.
Hold on.
Not a bad Batman.
Because the thing is, there's the 2 parts of Batman, and some actors are good Bruce Wayne, and some actors are good Batman, and some can do both, and some do neither.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the thing of Val Kilmer. Like, I can't remember. Is he a good Batman, or is he a good Bruce Wayne? Well, I feel like he's the good Batman.
He's a good Batman. His Bruce Wayne was a little stiff. Like, you know, George Clooney's a terrible Batman, but he was a good Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's the trade between the two. But when you see the thing about it, he was like, he tried to keep the acting style with doing Batman, and that's why his Bruce Wayne was like that.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah,
it didn't talk about it in the thing, but
it did a little bit because he talked about putting
his
hand on his hips and acting like a soap opera type character.
Yeah, soap opera character.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting and fascinating to watch this film, and I recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime. You could check it out. You know, it also makes me want to go watch Tombstone again because what a performance!
Every 10 minutes of your life, you don't want to watch Tombstone.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I do. Even more so now.
It has Stephen Lang in it.
It does.
You won't even recognize him. You're like, where was Stephen Lang in that movie?
He's not murder chopping people with a hammer.
He's the cowboy. Like Sam Elliott.
Bottle Rocket over on Twitch.
Michael Biehn.
Agreeing that Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is super, super good. And there you go. All right. And congratulations to Knock Solid getting that gift over there on Twitch. So good job. Good job for chatting in the channel.
Oh, he gifted a sub. Hey, thanks, Vince. Thanks for the gifted sub.
All right. Well, that reminds me. This was something I wanted to do at the beginning of the show because we were talking about Jake's foreign films and and it was something that
Slick Doggy's
foreign films. Before we start talking about Suicide Squad, I need to return a film for you, but I also want to ask a little bit about this film because I brought it with me here, and it's a film that you had loaned out that they said, hey, next time you see Jake, give them this film. And you know you're talking about how you've never been a weeb in your life, but you know, can you explain this?
Hell yes, I can.
This bright pink definitely looks like a foreign film. Even comes with a little booklet that I think we should probably take a look at because I mean, can you explain?
Yeah,
let me explain and tell me that this is not what this is one of your foreign films, right? And those of you who are listening to the podcast, it's bright pink. There's a Korean woman wearing a
Japanese.
Is it Japanese?
No, yeah, but the Blu-ray you're holding in your hands.
Okay, it looks Korean.
It's from Korea. It's the Korean special edition. It's the collector's edition that was released in Korea, and I couldn't get it in the U.S. Okay. And it was actually the cheapest way to buy the Blu-ray. Because if you go to Amazon and you try to purchase this movie in its American release or Japanese, it's extremely expensive. But if you go to eBay and you find yourself the Korean collector's edition that comes with the super cool book, and there's some lithographs in here. Collector's lithographs here.
I got the close-up cam. Here we go.
Yeah. So it is Kamikaze Girls. It's based on a book, and it is a book about two very unlikely friends. It is the daughter of a guy who tried everything he could to be a Yakuza, to be like a Yankee boy, get in with the Yakuza, and he did so by selling fake clothes, and the brand actually really took off. So the Yakuza kind of ostracized him because he was making too much money and coming in on some of the turf they didn't want him in on. So he was moved out to the suburbs or the rural area, and his daughter had to go with him. She was really into Lolita culture and all that, and made trips to the city.
That's the Lacey girl.
The Lacey girl, yeah,
stuff, right? Okay.
And she's very into fashion and all of this stuff. That scene, and to pay for her habit, because she has all of these expensive clothes and taste and things like that, she finds all of her dad's old clothing and starts selling it locally. And one of the people that comes to buy this is the Bosozoku girl that shows up.
Okay.
And so
they become friends.
Become friends. It's kind of like an odd couple situation. You have one that's very clean, prim, proper, and then you have one that's dirty and aggressive and impolite and all of that. So you have these two very unlikely friends that form a very strong bond with one another, and they have to help each other overcome some obstacles in their lives that face one another through their chosen lifestyles, and they learn how to accept one another and see things from the other one's point of view. And it's about best friendship, and it's a very, very good movie.
So my question is,
yeah,
have you ever been a weeb before in your life?
No.
Okay, everybody that's tuning in, let's like rewind and let's play the last 2 minutes all over again. I'm going to ask you again, have you ever been a weeb before in your life?
No, dude, not one time. What's wrong with watching a movie about...
I'm not saying anything's wrong with
people from two different walks of life learning to become best friends.
I didn't say anything was wrong with it. I'm just saying.
Oh, also, look at this.
If it walks
I never
like
realized
a duck,
this before. Limited edition. This is number 650 of only 1,000 ever made.
Well, okay.
How about that? Sick.
All right. Well, anyway.
It's a good-ass movie, dude.
Okay.
Do you want to watch
Sure,
it?
it is an ass movie.
It's not at all, dude. It's about...
It's a good ass movie. Anyway, we're running out of time. We still got a whole talk about Suicide Squad.
Thank you for bringing this back. Don't thank you for trying to make fun of me on the internet. Well, it's a really good movie.
Speaking of thank yous, thanks for the subs out there. We got Vince. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the sub, Knox, and thanks for passing that sub on to Bottle Rocket. So thanks for the subs, guys. Just thanks for those subs on Twitch. Look at us. We're turning into those guys. Thanks for the subs.
That's fine, dude. I want to be those guys.
Like and subscribe.
I want us to be those guys for you.
And again, if you are just tuning into the podcast, wherever you get podcasts from, and you're only listening to the audio, we do this live every week. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Let's see. All right. We need to talk about Suicide Squad because we only have about
the Suicide Squad.
15 minutes left.
No one wants to hear us talk about Suicide Squad. They want to hear us talk about the Suicide Squad.
True. And so Suicide Squad...
The very distinct difference.
Was, it was so strange because I wasn't quite sure if this movie was like a remake or a sequel or what it was going to be, but it's clearly a sequel. But they recast, Will Smith is not in it playing Deadshot.
Yeah, they didn't recast. They just cut out.
Well, they put Idris Elba in as a very, very similar but different character. And then that was a little confusing to me because, Deadshot and what's his name, Bloodspot or Blood Mess.
Yeah, that's it.
Bloodsport, Kumite, which is funny. Kind of made a reference to Dim Mak in this, and I just now put that together because his name's Bloodsport, and that's his Jean-Claude Van Damme classic, and he was a Dim Mak, which is the death punch. But it's got Joel Kinnaman in it. Maybe if you watched that show that I really liked on Netflix, Altered Carbon, he was in that. Had John Cena, who of course was playing Peacemaker. Which again, if you watch the movie, there's an end credit thing that sets up a spin-off TV show that they're wanting to do with John Cena.
They've already done it. They finished. They wrapped filming a couple weeks ago. Yep.
All right, well, it's coming out.
HBO. It's one of the 15 DC television shows that are being released soon. Oh, which, speaking of, next week, is it this Thursday or next Thursday that we get
what are you talking about?
Friggin' Titan Season 3?
I think it's next week.
Oh, damn it. I need it to be this week.
I need that too. But anyway, there was a lot of cast members hailed in this film as being a part of it, but, spoiler alert, this movie's called Suicide Squad for a reason, just like the other one. People die in this movie. And, here's the thing. I've been reading a lot of reviews from Marvel fanboys that are just like, DC is all over the place. They can't get their crap together, blah, blah, blah. Marvel's had a 10-year plan of 22 movies that are just perfectly succinct. Marvel is the one that is all over the place, and they're just grasping at straws, trying to connect dots.
Yeah, Marvel's plan isn't really that good of a plan,
it's
and oftentimes,
never been a plan.
Yeah, if you watch it, you're like, well, there's a big plot hole. Well, how do they try and explain that? And then they mess it up. But just because it's called Suicide Squad doesn't mean that they have to kill off the characters. And
no,
they chose first 3 minutes. They're like, hey, big names in the DC comics. No, dead. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Which is a little weird, because DC, one of the things that I will say in DC's favor against all those people that are like Marvel fanboys is that usually those people that are big Marvel movie fanboys don't read the comics. They don't know and understand the world. They're not watching TV shows. They're just watching the movies. They're like, I like Iron Man. And I read another review where they're like, everyone says that the DC universe is dark, but the Marvel universe is dark because the main storyline killed half the population in a snap. I go, no, it didn't, because if you watched it 5 minutes past that, they fixed it and everybody came back to fucking life. Like, it's not dark. There's no consequences. Everybody saves the day. But in DC, one of the things I like about DC is people do die, and you see a lot of this collateral damage, which is kind of cool and made that show Invincible pretty fun, as you see this collateral damage that's being caused by these people with superpowers. And with this movie, it's very James Gunny. It's incredibly James Gunny. It felt like Guardians of the Galaxy with an R rating, which, now that he's no longer with Disney, he can take the PG-13 gloves off and kind of say F-bombs and make dirty jokes.
Well, I mean, he's going right back to Disney.
Well, right after, they're like, well,
because WB was like, oh, come on over here, and Disney's like, after that, come back to us.
And he got to flex a little bit, and I think it worked in Suicide Squad. But I'm not going to say this is a strong movie.
No,
it's a fun movie. I thought I had a fun time watching it. The problems that I did have with it was trying to just anvil heavy shoehorn Harley Quinn into this, because I do like the character of Harley Quinn, but her being in this movie felt like they were just trying to sell tickets to people that like the Harley Quinn character, because her storyline and everybody else's storyline were not congruent for most of the movie, and even when they intersected, they were barely congruent, and it was just felt very forced and uncomfortable.
Most of the movie felt like that. It was very loose. Most of it was used as an excuse to kill off characters with some attempt at some sort of shock value, or like a Walking Dead type situation, or Game of Thrones, where they're like, well, we can kill off anybody. You never know who's going to be next, kind of a thing. But like most modern movies, the majority of everything worth watching in this movie has been shown to you in every trailer you watched for the last 2 years.
Also true.
Unfortunately, unlike the trailers, it wasn't as fluid of an action-packed thing. The colors and the music weren't there like you thought they would be. Of course, it's a James Gunn movie, so he tries to make soundtrack the movie, but it didn't really come through in the movie as well. And then each character is far underpowered and underwhelming,
and not really developed.
Most especially Starro.
So Starro
ended up being
stole the show, but also didn't.
Yeah, being a huge disappointment.
You only get one moment of where Starro as a character gets developed, and it's right when he dies. I mean, spoiler alert, they killed the monster. I mean, it's like what happened in the movie. But you get this one moment where it was like, I was just happy hanging out in the stars, man.
Right.
And, you're like, oh, shit, this is a character? And it's not like this just big evil thing. And you're like, oh, well, he's a victim too. And you're like, and it's right at the end of the movie, which could have been a cool thing because Starro's kind of a cool thing. And it's an interesting character that I was very shocked to see on screen.
Well, really, the only person that got any character given to him, they sprinkle a little bit of
was the rat girl
of
rat
blood
catcher.
sport. Well, they sprinkle a little bit of her in, but King Shark is the one that
King Shark
got the most character development through the movie, because Ratcatcher 2 and Bloodsport got a touch of character at one point in the movie. They're like, well, here's
you get an arc with King Shark.
Yeah, you get some development and something like that going.
And King Shark is cool. I like King Shark. They did a decent job with King Shark in the Flash show and animated.
Well, King Shark in the Flash show was good.
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit biased because they cast Sylvester Stallone to be King Shark in this one, and I thought it was fun.
But once you've heard like one or two lines, the rest of it's just the same thing again.
It is, but it's also Sylvester Stallone, and
he runs funny.
He does run funny. And it's King Shark, he's a giant shark that's kind of stupid and invincible. It's ridiculous. But, you see all these characters that kind of come together, and it's tale as old as time. It's got a little bit of heart. You're trying to, they're bad guys, but are they? And, one of the things that was really interesting to me to see, and I know a lot of people don't like Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I think she does a pretty good job as Amanda Waller. The Amanda Waller character I thought was kind of interesting in this one because it shows how completely ruthless that character really is.
They did let Waller be a little bit more Waller, where she's like, screw it, blow their head off.
I'll kill babies, I'll kill you, I don't care, it's the mission, it's my job. But the one thing I didn't like is there was a little twist in the end that if that had really happened, I think Amanda Waller would have completely cleaned house, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Yeah. Because
if you've ever seen any other DC related animation or comics where she's in, she's absolutely ruthless. She's essentially a supervillain that works for the government as a good guy. She's an interesting character, but
Amanda Waller's like the one person who is not afraid of Batman.
Yeah. And she also doesn't have any superpowers, which is also kind of weird and scary. She's
an scared nothing.
Evil person. But this movie, it's James Gunn. There was some really cool chapter changes with words and set decorations and animation that was kind of fun. But again, it's a superhero movie, and these things, they're just feeling so paint by numbers these days.
It was very paint by numbers, and honestly, I felt like there was no reason to stay tuned in after the first 5 minutes, because you're like, oh, okay. And then the rest of the movie was just trying to be little dumb jokes every now and then.
Yeah, there was a lot of Peacemaker jokes, which were pretty endearing at the beginning, and then they kind of started to get a little old. I can't imagine a whole show of that shit.
I did feel like John Cena was probably the most entertaining person on screen, though.
He did steal a lot of the spotlight. I think they thought Margot Robbie was going to do it, but I felt just because her character being forced into so many scenes.
Well, they made Idris Elba the main character, but I do feel like John Cena was probably the most entertaining.
The spotlight clearly went to him for most of the movie. Because it's John Cena. He's just right off of Fast and the Furious. Everybody, and he's just a big hulking dude, and big hulking. He was basically Drax. A big giant svelte dude making cracking elementary school jokes that you cannot help but snicker at. You can't You cannot. It's like fart jokes. Like a good fart joke, everyone's gonna laugh at it. No one thinks farts aren't funny. Like, I don't care how cool you think you are, but a good fart joke's gonna make you laugh.
Overall, I feel like the movie had potential that it chose not to live up to.
I agree. I absolutely agree, because I think it could have maneuvered a little bit better with some of these characters to make it an interesting DC universe film that could have opened up the DC universe to people that like the Marvel universe. I think it could have been a good bridge to some of those fans.
Yeah, especially because they've introduced now other alien characters such as Mongal, who they straight up in her paperwork say alien. They have people with new and interesting superpowers, like TDK. You have mentioned that Bloodsport shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet,
which happened in the comics.
You have King Shark, who is descendant of a shark god. You have Weasel, who whatever that's supposed to be, kind of a thing, and then you have basically a couple of guys that they have superpowers, like whatever Blackguard's power is supposed to be. He's a Booster Gold villain, so is Booster Gold in DC now? Can we have some Booster Gold, please? If you want to bring Ryan Reynolds over to DC,
there you go. He'll be in both.
Bring him to DC again. But it could have opened a lot of doors, and I think they shut every one of them. With the movie, they might still open it up, but it's not. Where's it going to go? Yeah.
Well, they'll just do the Marvel thing, go, multiverse or something. That's what they do. And I think that this movie was a big experiment for DC. Because things like The Boys are getting popular. Things, Guardians of the Galaxy had that popularity. They kind of tripped on their own feet with the first Suicide Squad, and I think this one's like, hey, maybe we can explore this extended universe because Doom Patrol is also doing so well, and Doom Patrol is very similar in its like sort of ragtag bunch of down and outers that actually end up saving the world. And if you've not seen Doom Patrol season 3 is coming,
and Titans.
And Titans is coming, and these are both fantastic DC properties. Like, I think everybody's sleeping on DC TV because everybody's like, Marvel movies, there's got to make movies. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sucks.
I guess they could say that Suicide Squad is in the
Doom Patrol
like
style?
The Doom Patrol Titans universe instead, because they already have a Batman and Superman in those that you don't get to, or you get to see Batman. You don't get to see
Justice League. Justice League's gonna, like the Avengers, you got your Avengers, your Justice League is your big title, but you've got all these sub ones that I think, because Daredevil wasn't that great. Luke Cage was okay. Iron Punch was garbage. Like, but Doom Patrol's fire. Titans is fire. Justice League Dark is probably going to be fire. The animated one's fire. All the animated stuff's fire. Just get on board the DC TV and animated train. That's where it needs to be, because these movies missing the mark a little bit. Anyway, Suicide Squad. Any other Suicide Squad thoughts, Jake?
No, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
You sound a little defeated.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt watching it, man. I thought it was going to go somewhere, and then it immediately shut all that down. So it was kind of just sitting around for the next hour and a half, hoping something happened.
Waiting for Starro.
Yeah, and then basically I was like, well, when does Starro show up? Because now everything else fun has been taken away, and it was, I don't know, disappointing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Sam said that they had the Titans cameo on CW for the Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Flash movie, the Flash thing that's coming out, like Michael Keaton coming out of the woodwork to play Batman. I think that's going to be a big thing that happens. So we'll people discredit the DC because they're just dummies. I'm a Marvel convert. I was a Marvel fanboy until this MCU happened. MC Pew, if you ask me. Don't make that face. That was a good one, right?
No.
Anyway.
Well, and yeah, Vince, you're right. I have had a run of disappointing movies lately. Unfortunately, Val's good. Hey, Val's good, but it's a documentary, so I don't know.
You loved Jungle Cruise?
No. That's why I wore this for you, because you loved Jungle Cruise.
I thought about...
But Vince did point out me drinking NOS is very on brand, so I'm still sticking with Fast and Furious.
This guy. Well, all right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We are out of time. We're going to get out of here. Like, subscribe, share it. You can sub over on Twitch.
Yeah.
You can do all that kind of stuff. Give us those subs. We're growing the show. But we will be back with you next week. I'm probably going to see the Choppy McChopperson Quiet Place murder film.
I'll probably watch Free Guy. But I'll watch Respect if I can find it.
Yeah, if we can find that one. But anyway, if you don't want to watch our faces and participate in the chat, you can always subscribe to our podcast over on Spotify or TuneIn or Apple Music, Google Play, whatever it is that you get your podcast at. You can listen to us on the go. And then as Vince asked, give me them emotes. I gotta make them. I'm gonna make them. What kind of emotes do you want? Like, do you want like little our faces, or do you want like little like movie things, or what do you
combination?
Like our. I mean, we can only do like 3 or 4. Like we're still.
There's tiers. We'll get it figured out. You
want a doggy? You want a slick doggy emote? We'll see. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you guys next week. As always, I am the Boom Operator.
And I'm Slick Doggy.
And we out of here.